Hey, call me Shape, and today we're reacting to a video titled, Today I Realized I Will Be Alone for the Rest of My Life. Before we get into the video, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. The channel's blowing up. Help us get to 10,000 subs. Let's get right into the content.
Yo, what's good, y'all? Hope y'all having a good day. Hope y'all having a blessed day, man. I was just sitting here thinking that, most people are going to end up being alone for their entire lives. You know what I mean? And, on the surface, I guess that seems cool and all because, there's kind of been an agenda pushed that, being an individual and being independent is just this great thing. But the reality of it is that it's actually pretty bad for your health, not even just your mental health, but your physical health. And Generation Z is about to be the most lonely generation. In fact, if you look it up right now, like close to 50% of people are single right now in the US. And, that does include, widows and divorced people and separated people. So the number of people that just have never come into contact with a romantic partner long term is not that's not indicative of what it is. It's probably closer to probably like 25%, something like that. But even then, still, we are living in an age where being alone and being by yourself is becoming more and more popular. And I mean, I can't even begin to think about what it'll be in the next 20-30 years. It's going to be probably over 50%. And the reason why this is important is for a few reasons, man. Like, we've been seeing the rise in casual relationships, casual hookups, things of that nature, right? That's why you can't find a good girlfriend or find a good boyfriend these days. You know what I mean? Like, you can't find a good partner anymore because everyone is interested in just the fast life. You know what I mean? You're very encouraged to just get with somebody for the short term. That's why all these dating apps, the way these dating apps are set up, bro, they're not set up for no long-term relationship, because you get on there and you got a thirst trap to get a swipe. You know what I mean? And it's all about sex, bro. That's all it's about, bro. Nobody is getting married anymore. Like, the rates of marriage have drastically dropped because nobody's thinking about marriage. And there's reasons why that I'm gonna touch on in a little bit later. But the first thing I wanted to go over is how, like, the rise of casual hookups and stuff is literally crippling us, dog. It's crippling us and it's giving us more anxiety and more depression, dog. And the reason why casual hookups, I think, are so on the rise is not just because of a lack of self-control and the push to indulge. I feel like that's a part of it, but in my opinion, I think that the rise of casual hookups and just sexual deviancy in general is directly correlated to the fall of the dominance of religion. And I'm not just talking about Christianity. I'm talking about Christian, Catholic, Jewish. Back in the day, it was like shit. Like, think about the pilgrims that came over here, bro. Like, church and state was like this, right? Like, the church, like, religion was a very big thing in America. And over time, things have just continued to drop off, which, if you've ever read the Bible, this is expected. This is already predicted. But if you haven't, this is kind of just human nature, right? Like, we are not by nature, like, very moral. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just something that would have happened regardless.
He's making some great points. I want to pause him right there. Shout out to this young brother talking some ish. Yeah, I think the biggest reason why a lot of people are going to be alone and there's more lonely people now than ever is because this is like the first time in history we don't actually need each other for survival, right? Men are earning money, women are earning money. We don't need to live together or be together to survive, pay our bills. I live in a studio apartment myself. I live by myself, and I don't really need a girl to survive, to pay the bills, right? I don't need a second income. I can survive with my own income. Women are surviving with their own income as well. It wasn't like that back in the day. 100 years ago, 200 years ago, women didn't work, right? And so now that women are in the workforce and they earn their own money and they can make their own decisions and they're financially independent, it's less reason for them to pair up with men, get married, and start families. So what the hell is going to happen in the future? I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing. Dating apps are turning into just places to hook up and have sex because the only thing we do need each other for is intimacy. That's about it.
You know what I mean? And as the dominance of religion has fallen over time, we felt less and less shame We felt less and less reason to feel that we need to be moral in a sexual way, right? And so that's given way to the rise of casual sex, casual hookups. You know, you just meet somebody and you know, get with them the first time you see them. You're sleeping with all types of people from all types of places and stuff like that. And this rise of casual sex, again, has ruined the relationship. You know what I mean? It's ruined marriages. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, what it's led to is people that even want relationships are starting to give up, and they're starting to be like, whatever, I'm gonna just be in these streets, or I'm just gonna be single and go my own way, whatever. And this is going to have actually detrimental effects in the future, because, you know, as we continue to not have marriages and not have families and babies, you know what I mean, that's going to have a terrible effect on the youth. You know, population decline will eventually end up happening. But besides all that, man, this rise in like being very casual and stuff like that is also kind of paired with the rise of anxiety and trust issues. Like everywhere you look, everyone has anxiety, everyone has trust issues, right? And I was thinking, like, why is this the case? And what I came back to was like this thing that I call like the Disney phenomenon, right? In other words, the reason I call it the Disney phenomenon is when we was growing up, you know, you always watch these Disney princess movies, right? Like when I was young, like what was it, like Princess and the Frog was on, shit, like a little bit later after that, but there was Frozen, it was Tangled and stuff like that. You know, I know millennials grew up on this too, it's not just Gen Z, but what these movies kind of taught us was that it gave us a very romanticized view of what love is and what to expect out of a lifelong partner at a young age. You know what I mean? Like, because, you know, you always had and they live happily ever after, and they're so nice to each other, and they're this and that. And it's not just the Disney stuff, right? I mean, it was always other production companies, but parents added to this too, right? They added these expectations, like for young men, right? Like your mom grew up, you grew up and your mom was telling you like, oh, you know, you always gotta treat a woman like this and this and that, and we're thinking like she's right, yeah. And then, you know, young women are being told, oh, like you should expect X, Y, and Z from a man, you should act this way, whatever. And what ends up happening is that alongside with the fall of religion, the fall of morals, the fall of shame, it gave rise to people that were grown that we watched. So what was the generation before? Before millennials was what, Gen X or something like that, right? I could be wrong, but each generation, like Gen Z, watched millennials act out more because there was a fall of morals. And what do we know about kids? No matter what age you go to, bro, what generation, kids always feel like they want to act grown. They always want to act grown without the responsibilities of being grown, right? Like if you go to any high school.
Okay, so he's jumping around here a lot. Just to address the thing he said about the fall of religion, 100%. And part of me feels like this was an orchestrated plan to reduce the population, right? Because if we're not getting together, we're not getting married, we have this kind of sex war going on, men versus women. Ultimately, we're going to have less babies, and there's going to be a sharp decline in the population. Now, I just did a video about this in South Korea. South Korea, they have a record low birth replacement rate, which is, I think, 0.71. For every one person, they're having 0.71 kids, or for every 10 people, only 7 kids are being born. So that's a 30% decrease in the population over time, which, by the way, is going to have some insidious effects long term. But as far as he's talking about, as far as romantic love, this Disney love, when they sold that, I think what they sold us was a bag of lies. And what ended up happening was women became very entitled and very demanding, right? Your Prince Charming is going to do all these wonderful things for you. And men became simps. Now, the reality of it is, entitled women are not necessarily good women. Let's just be honest with you. And then men who are simps are not necessarily good men. Now, for men, if you're a simp and you worship women, you're not focused on your goals. You're not focused on your future. You could be a no good or no use to a woman because you could be easily persuaded and led by your desires, and you're not really on your path and focused on your true mission, which is God, right? Let's say God's supposed to be the person that you're kneeling to, bowing to, but here we are bending on one knee, begging for women to marry us. That's a posture of submission. I don't know why we're submitting to women. We probably shouldn't be doing that. Anyway, And then women become entitled where they think they expect the world from men. But how can you expect the world from a man who doesn't work hard to become anything? He's putting you on a pedestal, and you want to put him on a pedestal. How does that work? Y'all both can't be on the pedestals, one or the other. If you expect a lot from men, that means that men has to go out there and earn and become somebody. But if he puts you on a pedestal, that means he doesn't have to. He just has to worship where you are right now. And that's the conflict that we're in right now, I think, for sure. So he's touched on some good points. Let's see what else you got to say.
You know, a lot of people are going to think they're grown, even though they're nowhere near it and they're not mature at all. But they're going to try to act grown. That's why, unfortunately, you have a lot of, young girls in high school that try to get with 20-some-year-olds. And you got a lot of young men out here that want to smash their teacher and stuff like that, bro. And what ends up happening is that they observe the older generations. And as they started to observe more casual hookups, more casual sex, there's more clubbing, going out, non-marital lifestyle, bachelorette lifestyle, they start to emulate that. And so what happens is now these expectations from the Disney phenomenon get broken, because now you get into your first relationship and it's like, oh wait, but this person in reality is acting like this person is not acting like how they said they was in the Disney movies. This person ain't acting how my mom and dad said they was gonna act. And we end up getting our little heart broke. Everybody's first relationship is bad for the most part. You know what I mean? That's where a lot of trust issues and anxiety develops, because now in every subsequent relationship, you're now putting that against what you went through in your first relationship. Now it's like, damn, well, I don't know if I can trust this person. And each relationship after that, it's always going to be much more difficult to trust that person because of the expectations that we had set, and because our expectations were broken, and because of the rise in casualness, bro. Right. And what this has led to is, again, the decline in marriage, the decline in relationships, right? Nobody trusts each other or anything. And, this leads us to being alone. There's a lot of people that are alone right now. And it's funny because it's easier than ever to meet anybody. But I was just thinking about this the other day too, right? I was thinking about, like, because, there's a lot of people that ask me, I have guys will ask me, like, Cam, like, where's the best place to meet women or whatever? Right. And I'm sure there's a lot of women out there that are wondering where's the best place to meet men. And understand that with the fall of community that I've talked about in previous videos, but with the fall of community, because we live in these suburbs and these isolated places, infrastructure is not set up for community. Community is just very highly discouraged. School has a monopoly over it. And even then, school is not really a place for community. But that's neither here nor there. With the fall of community, there's no real good place to meet anybody. Like, sure, you can go to your local church, but understand that since the younger generations are getting smaller and smaller, it's getting more and more difficult to find people your age that you can meet, that you can relate to at your local church, or, whatever they call, I don't know if they call it church for other religions besides being Christian. Wherever you go for like religious meetings, gatherings, it's less likely that you will find people there that are like you, right? Especially with the fall of the dominance of religion nowadays, a lot of young kids ain't going to church no more, right? So now,
Yeah, so that's another problem is people don't know where to meet anyone, right? It's inappropriate at this point in time to meet someone at work. It's very risky. If you and that person falls out, they can make a complaint. You can lose your job. It's not the best place to pursue a relationship. It has had some success, but more and more now, people are meeting people online. People that they don't normally grow up with. People that they don't normally see in their day-to-day routine. The issue with that is that online is so based on vanity, right? How you look, what's your stats, your height, your age, how much money you're probably making, that no one's really judging based on people's character, and that's probably the more important thing to date someone for. Yeah, you should date someone for your looks. Trust me, I want to date a girl that's fit. I'm fit, so I want a girl that's fit. But I also want to make sure that she's a kind person, right? That she's sweet, that she has grace, that she's feminine, right? And you can't really convey that with pictures and words. So that's a difficult thing. I heard that there's a stat that says 50% of couples are meeting online now, and maybe in the future it's probably going to raise to like 60, 70%. So we're at a huge disadvantage in life now because the dating apps have a control of our future when it comes to us dating, but they don't really have incentivized. They're not really that incentivized to make sure we actually date, because then they lose us as a customer. It's kind of a catch-22 of sorts. So I don't know. I'm really curious what's going to happen. He hasn't really defined why he thinks he's going to be alone, except for the fact that people have anxiety, religion has fallen, and he seems like he's going to be okay. He's a decently attractive guy. He looks like he's in a Tesla, so maybe he has some money, or maybe it came from money. I don't know, but to assume that you're going to be alone for the rest of your life, as the title of your video said, I'm trying to see where you're talking about that at. I would like to let you go on, but part of me feels like he's going to ramble a little bit more. I think he was good at some of the points he really talked about, and that we kind of hash on here is that religion's gone, right? And we don't have that community anymore. So essentially, God has died in America, unfortunately, and so therefore people are kind of carelessly hooking up, violating their temples, right? And listen, I grew up in a time where we did things casually too. I think it was a big mistake. I don't think anyone benefited from fornication. I don't think anyone benefited from it. I'm here to say, and I've had a lot of casual sex with women, and rightfully so. I enjoyed myself, and there's a lot of beautiful women. But I don't think I would have missed out on anything realistically if I didn't have sex. If I didn't wait till I was married to have sex for the first time. I think there's a stat in India that says that one, India is a place where a lot of people are getting married in general. It's been like that historically, and two, their divorce rate is 1%. So maybe in the future we're going to have to return to arranged marriages, or we're going to have to return to something more secular or non-secular, I don't know which word means religious, but something more spiritual in order to actually start families, build relationships again. I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. I could be wrong about this. If you feel like you're going to be single and lonely for the rest of your lives, listen, a lot of people feel that way. I'm 36. I'm surprised I don't have any kids. I'm surprised I've never been married. It's a shocker to me. And sometimes I do feel like FOMO, like, damn, am I missing out? But at other times I think to myself, like, bro, you're still young. You got a YouTube channel. You could make a great life for yourself. And that's what I want to do. And so there is hope. There is opportunity for us. But I do think that we need to start valuing each other more. And I do think we may need to turn to God. I don't know. What do you think? Comment what you think below in the video. Subscribe the channel. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out some other videos. I'll talk to you guys soon.